Welcome back to Fade to Chat, and we've got a great movie, I think, today. Cindy picked it, I remember it, and as a kid growing up, I think the first time I saw this, I would have been, if it just came out, I would have been probably 8 or 9 years old, and my father dropped us off at the Will Rogers Theater. So you have to remember who Will Rogers was, and you have to remember how much Will Rogers theaters were in terms of, people going up and down the aisle with buckets for you to donate to Will Rogers Foundation. But I saw this film and enjoyed it, and I don't think I saw it again for a long time, but I know I haven't seen it in probably 45 years. So, yeah. So, but it has a lot of fun. I mean, I had a lot of fond memories of it, but I had a specific memory when I watched it this time that we'll talk about when we get to it. It is Father Goose from 1964. It stars Cary Grant, Leslie Caron, Trevor Howard, and a supporting cast of young girls. Why don't you give the lead up to it, Cindy? Why don't you talk a little bit about what basically the plot line is?
Well, this was one of Cary Grant's favorite movies, which we'll talk more about too. It's a really a change of pace for him. It takes place on an island, and he's a watcher for the plane, the coast watching post in a remote island of, how do you say that? Matalava?
Matalava.
Matalava. And he doesn't want to do this, but he's helping them watch for enemy Japanese planes. And that's his job, to stay on the island and watch for the planes. And every time he spots a plane, he gets rewarded with a bottle of whiskey. So that's his incentive to stay there and do that. And in the meantime, he was going to be replaced by another gentleman. And when he went to pick him up on another island, they found out he had been killed. And there's a French woman there, Catherine Freneau, who's Leslie Caron, and she's there with these 7 schoolgirls, and she ends up coming back with him to the island. And of course, they have a very interesting relationship together. And
so a little bit of backstory to fill in. Cary Grant is kind of reluctant. He doesn't really want to do the job. He feels a sense of honor and wants to help out the war effort. But they also don't trust him. Like, he could very well just take all the supplies and disappear. And so what they do is they deliberately rip a little hole in his hull, so he has to go ashore, and he's stuck there until he can get someone to help repair it, or to repair the boat himself, and that's not going to be an easy task. He just has a little dinghy, and so he winds up taking the dinghy to another island to try and get his replacement, and runs into Leslie Caron and these kids who were dropped off there, I think, with the intent of being taken back to more of a safe space. I think was the plot line there.
I was not real clear on that part.
Yeah,
why they were there.
It was either the boat that they were on got shot up and they had to come to shore, or I can't exactly remember what the plot line was that brought them there, but I think it was a temporary place for them to be. And Cary Grant's replacement was going to help them get on another boat to get back home safely. But they wind up all getting into this small dinghy and going in the middle of the night, going back to Cary Grant's island. Did you read about the filming of that?
I did, yes.
Yeah, it was in the movie. You see two Japanese steamers or two Japanese warboats coming, and they're kind of right in the middle of their path. So they are bordered on both sides by Japanese boats, and apparently that was film footage that they had taken and projected on a screen, and they were in a large, I don't know, tub,
Tank.
yeah, a large tank,
Tank of
and
water.
there were people like moving the waves by moving large logs to get the waves to get them, and the kids were having a great time, and you know, they at one point the boat actually capsized, which is not part of the plot. And the kids were all excited because then they could go swimming. They really wanted to go swimming in the large tank of water, but they had to pull them out, recapsize or uncapsize the boat, I guess, and continue to shoot the scene. So it's kind of interesting, little trivia about how that was shot.
Well, and I was reading that this morning, and I read that like you said, all the girls are so excited they could go swimming, but there was apparently one little girl that didn't know how to swim.
Oh yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, and so all the crew members, they jumped in and, rescued her, but all the other little girls thought it was just great.
Now, how old was Cary Grant in this? Do you remember?
He was 60.
Okay, because I when we talked about this film last time, on the last episode that we're going to do this film, unlike me, I went ahead and watched it right away. Usually I kind of wait until we're ready to go, but I knew I was going to be traveling, and so I watched it right away, and I was struck by he was concerned, of course, about the age difference between him and Leslie Caron, as he was in Charade, with him and what's her name?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's okay. It's Monday morning.
I know.
So he was uncertain about this role. When I looked at his age and I watched him, his movement was so quick. He's like running through the forest. He's jumping over things. There is a kind, and he's running and then dropping. There is this kind of acrobat in him, and we knew he was when he was younger. And I was just amazed at his agility at that age, and how spry he was with it. So I didn't lose that in him. There was also,
and it was Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn. Okay, yeah,
Audrey Hepburn. Yeah.
In Charade.
Yeah.
There was also this aspect. At one point, he's looking or peering over something, and he has a particular way that he raises his eyebrow and then does a kind of laugh. And it was like, oh yeah, that's the same laugh from this movie and this movie and this movie. So it was like, I heard it, and it's like no one else does that except Cary Grant, and he does it it's sort of nervous laughter.
Yes, he did that in our very first movie, Arsenic and Old Lace. He did that in, yeah.
You're
right.
I appreciated the longevity of his abilities in this film. So, other things, Leslie Caron, I could take her or leave her. Who else was up for that role? Was there someone else? He hoped his charade co-star Audrey Hepburn would play Catherine Freneau, but she was already committed to My Fair Lady. Actually, I think he was offered Henry Higgins' role in My Fair Lady, but turned it down to make this film.
Right.
And then there's another film that he turned down. Have you ever seen The Cincinnati Kid?
No.
It is a interesting film. And it has Edward G. Robinson plays this kind of poker king that goes around and does basically takes games. So the Cincinnati Kid, played by Steve McQueen. And it was, I think, a really good role for Steve McQueen. You know, it's kind of that quiet, sullen, thoughtful, pensive kind of character in this film. Anne Margaret's in it, Carl Malden's in it, Tuesday Weld's in it, Joan Blondella's in it, and a very, very young Rip Torn in The Cincinnati Kid. And the role that Cary Grant was considered for was the Edward G. Robinson role. And frankly, Robinson pulls it off. You know, we saw him in Double Indemnity. And he does sort of, I don't know if you saw The Hustler with Jackie Gleason and Paul Newman. There is a character in there, Jackie Gleason plays Minnesota Fats. He's sort of the Minnesota Fats of poker and does that same sort of shrewd kind of way of acting in it. So I don't know. I think this was actually, although Cincinnati Kid probably would have had a longer legacy for Cary Grant, I think this is a better role for Cary Grant in Father Goose.
Well, I know you were a little bit apprehensive about watching this film. At first you said, oh my gosh, all those girls. You weren't sure about the 7 girls. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah,
I love the interaction between Cary Grant and those young girls. I thought that was very endearing.
Yeah,
that showed his sensitive side.
Yeah, I'm just not a big kids
film me neither.
Person. You know, they border between, I wouldn't even say adorable, but closer to annoying. Not in this film.
But I had my favorites.
Okay, so who was your favorite?
I had 2 favorites. I had Christine. She was the little redhead that had the invisible friend Gretchen.
Yeah.
I really liked her, but my very favorite was Jenny, the very youngest one.
I liked, what was it?
Harriet.
Harriet, yeah.
Harriet.
Harriet.
Called her Harry.
Harry, yeah. My name's Harry.
Yeah, the tomboy.
Yeah. I enjoyed this film much more than I thought I would after not seeing it over so many years.
Good.
I do think, however, we need to talk about the one thing that I saw in this film that was brought back all sorts of weird memories for me. And of course, it made no sense to me when I first saw it when I was a kid, is black and white Scotch. This whole movie could have been, talk about product placement. Black and white Scotch was throughout the whole movie. And, you know, I saw it maybe when I was 9, then maybe again when I was 15. And when I turned 21, I was in college, and I just remember buying black and white Scotch, and that kind of became my cheap Scotch of, and that's not to say it's a bad Scotch, but it was an easy kind of drinkable Scotch for me. And if for those of you who, if I just say that it had a Scotty and a Westie on the label, the two dogs, black and white, and I had a game I played in college, which was called Talk to the Doggies, which meant you drink until you actually start talking to the doggies. Then you know you've had enough. So that it disappeared from the market, or at least it disappeared from the U.S. market. And I was in Ireland and then in Scotland. And it was at a conference in Scotland with a doctoral student of mine, and now he is a professor. And I told him about black and white Scotch. I said, if I could get anything, I'd get a bottle of black and white, but you can't get it in the U.S. So he found a place that had a bottle of black and white Scotch, but it was like $200. And I was like,
Wow.
for that memory, I just can't afford to take home $200 worth of Scotch. And so he was like, yeah, do it. Come on, do it. You should do it. Do it. You should really do it. And I'm like, nah, guy, I'm glad we found the grail. It's just, I'm not interested in taking it home with me.
It's funny, when you sent me the show notes this morning, I thought, what is this extra thing about black and white whiskey? I thought, what is that? I clicked on it, I went, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. That's what he was drinking. I knew it was whiskey, but I didn't realize it was the black and white whiskey.
Yeah.
The Scotty dog and the Westie. It's funny.
So when I pursued it, this was a very popular Scotch during that time.
Okay.
In Cheers, season 6, episode 5, the Crane Mutiny, Fraser orders a Scotch and Woody pours him black and white on the rocks. Probably more towards the contemporary. A bottle seen on a table somewhere in the Congo when Tarzan escapes, 1936. Dick Diver, the main character in F. Scott Fitzgerald's 1934 novel Tender is the Night, orders black and white with siphon. James Bond drinks black and white in Ian Fleming's novel Moonraker. James Bond shares a bottle with Felix Leiter, and the choral of Pussyfellow's Bar in the 1962 film Dr. No. I'm going to have to watch that to see if I can spot the black and white. Mm-hmm. Just Tom Rath drinks black and white in the Sloan Wilson novel The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. Cary Grant was fond of it in the movie Father Goose in 1964. Marcello Mastroianni drank black and white with his father, his lady friend, and paparazzi played in Walter Santosi's. The paparazzi actually placed an order for a bottle of black and white in the Fellini classic film La Dolce Vita. Physicist Richard Feynman drank black and white and describes it in his book, Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. It has an interesting sort of public persona. The drink is featured in the novel Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, which the narrator orders black and white in water. So, long list of cool things about black and white Scotch.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at the picture of it, it reminded me, I had a childhood memory, has nothing to do with whiskey, but I had black and white Scotty dog magnets.
Oh, okay.
That I used to play with all the time, and I remembered that. That's my only reference to black and white Scotty dog.
We are probably driving listeners nuts going down this rat hole, but look it up and appreciate the history of black and white Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think of other things about the movie, things that you would. So, the theme song that we hear over and over,
It's
uh,
still in my head.
"Count
Pass
Me,
me by.
Pass Me
Pass you
By,"
by. Pass me by.
and it is really kind of a fun song. What's weird is as soon as the movie starts and I heard that, hadn't
Mm-hmm.
heard that song in ages. It's like, oh yeah, I can probably sing the whole thing. Apparently, when the film was released, it was also released, re-released or released on the radio and became sort of a semi-hit. So people would have heard that song outside of the movie itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was recorded by Peggy Lee, Frank Sinatra, and some others.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's one of those, it gets stuck in my head because I started to watch the movie this morning a little bit and it's still playing in my head. It's a very nice song, very
yeah.
catchy.
It bothers me when songs kind of get stuck in your head because it's like,
I know.
why am I cooking and thinking of this song?
Yeah. But he whistled it in the beginning and he hummed it, he sang it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's throughout the whole movie. So, yeah.
So Barnett, Stone, and Tarloff won an Academy Award for Best Writing, Story, and Screenplay written directly for the screen in the Academy Awards. And Ted J. Kent was nominated for Best Film Editing.
Hmm.
It was one of the first films. This film and The Ypres File were among the first film titles offered on Britain's earliest pay-per-view television experiment, an experimental cable pay-per-view service launched in London on January 6, 1966. Charged viewers 6 shillings deposited into a cash meter on the set to watch these films.
You know, we were talking about the age difference between he and Leslie Caron. Cary Grant was married to Diane Cannon at the
Canon.
time. Yeah, and she was 28 years younger than he.
Yeah, again, I kind of direct you to some of the great, well, I won't say great, but the biopics that are out there about Cary Grant's
Hmm.
life.
Yeah, and
And particularly the last one that I saw, it might have been Netflix, did one. They kind of weaved Diane Cannon and her role into this, his life. And apparently she was pretty jealous, didn't like him being gone so much,
hmm
particularly for this, hanging out with Leslie Caron, who was much younger also.
yeah,
And so, and I think they had just had a baby.
they had just had a baby, and he was away from home for quite a few months. And he said later that that was probably a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of trivia or details about this film. Um,
I have a few things that I thought were interesting.
yeah,
It said about Jenny, the youngest little girl, who she had to bite Cary Grant several times in the movie, and she
yeah,
was afraid to do that. She was afraid to hurt him, and he said, "Oh no," he said, the first time she bit him, it was too gently, she didn't want to hurt him. She
yeah,
was afraid, and he said, "Oh no, 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 you've got to bite me hard." He said, "I want to see those teeth marks." So when she finally did it hard enough, he said he went around the studio and showed everyone his finger to prove that she did such a great job. She was the one who didn't speak also for quite a
Yeah.
while. They said that once she had been separated from her parents, that she wouldn't speak, and that was one of my favorite scenes when she was on the boat with him for
Right.
some reason, and she wouldn't speak to him, and he persuaded her by, let me find where that
I
was,
think it was offering some
um,
candy or
the
something.
whistle. He was
The
going to give her
whistle.
a
Yeah.
whistle. He said, if you repeat 3 words,
Yeah.
and yeah, the first word was elephant, and she said elephant. Then he said rhinoceros, and she said rhinoceros, and then he said wrong, and she said wrong. I said, she said, I said rhinoceros. He said, no, you were supposed to say wrong. And
Yeah.
then he gave her the whistle. And then after that, it's like they were best friends. And she was the one who brought him the whiskey. I remember at the dinner table the one time he was kind of coughing on that coconut milk,
Yeah.
which he hated. And she brought out that bottle of whiskey, and he was like, where did that come from? And she said, well, I've done it before. No, you haven't. And she said, yes, I have. I've done it before. And she also hit him on the foot with a hammer one time. Yeah, she was one of my little favorites. And
Here's, yeah,
go ahead.
keep going.
Go ahead. Well, I
Here's,
wrote down one of my quotes.
okay.
One of my quotes. Where was it? Because it has to do with her. Um, yeah, after he finally got her to talk, he was painting the name of the boat, and he was doing it upside down and backwards. And she was trying to tell him that he was doing it wrong. And of course, he realized finally he had done it backwards. And he said, I know you've saved up a lot to say, but could you spread it around a little? He said, how can I get any work done with you chattering away all day?
This is what didn't work for me. The
Okay.
romance.
I knew you were going to say that.
It was just, get a chaplain. It's like, wait a minute. They're having a
After
fight.
they
Yeah.
slapped each other. Right.
Yeah. And it kind of felt weird because it was saying slapping each other can lead to romance. I didn't get that.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah, I agree.
and kind of the humor of abuse, I guess, in mid 60s was how people kind of dealt with that.
But I think they saw a different side of each other after she had gotten supposedly bitten by the snake. And he
Yeah.
admitted that, why he was doing what he was doing, that that was interesting that he had been a professor. We found
Yeah.
that out. And then he had walked away from that. No, I agree with you. They had to do something, but they didn't really do it in a gradual way. It was like all of a sudden they went from nothing to, okay, we need a chaplain.
Would the movie
It's,
have would the movie plot line have worked without it? Because essentially they needed to get off the island. And there was nothing about them being married that changed that fact. And
true.
for me, the romance was so uh, it just didn't develop, that it wasn't oh my God, they're married, I hope they get off the island together. It was like, no, if it I hope they get off the island, but
Yeah.
I don't feel any less or more tragedy because they're or
Hmm.
feeling compelled about it because they're married.
Right.
So yeah.
Except in the end when I don't know how. Here's where I struggled. I don't know how the she got off with the children in the boat without the Japanese seeing her, and he's in his boat,
Yeah.
and they're bombing him. And of course, he ties off the wheel and jumps off, and he swims to their little boat, and everybody's safe. It's like, well, where was her little boat all this time
Yeah, I
while the
think
Japanese were bombing them?
she was in a different direction. They were more interested in the
Okay.
larger boat than the dinghy
Mm-hmm.
because they figured they would all be on the larger boat.
Yeah, I
And the larger
guess.
boat would have had enough speed to be able to get far enough away from the bombing. So they went for that as
Mm-hmm.
bait. Was my thought about it.
Okay. Yeah, and another interesting piece of trivia, if you've ever seen Operation Petticoat,
Yeah,
have you seen that movie? Okay, that was Cary Grant and
Tony
what's his
Curtis.
name? Tony Curtis, yeah. That was the same stock footage
Yeah,
of them firing the torpedo in that movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if people haven't seen this film, they should see this film.
Hmm.
It's bubblegum. This is a film I think Brian would enjoy.
I
So,
thought so
Brian, if you're
too.
listening, you haven't seen this film, this is a nice family friendly
Yeah.
kind of film that I think you would enjoy. And that doesn't mean you
Yeah.
don't enjoy other things,
No, I
but
thought of him too.
the kind of things the movies that we throw that seem to be real um, iffy, either like hot or cold films. There's that Brian barometer that we can never figure out
Brian
whether he's
Barometer.
going to like it or not. This one is pretty clean on the Brian barometer, so
Yeah, yes.
I feel pretty confident that it's a good family friendly film for folks.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is anything that was quotable for me from this movie.
Hmm.
I'll tell you, I could not stop watching Cary Grant in the film. I really didn't care about Leslie Caron, but I was more interested in watching him as an actor with this. And you're right, he is marvelous playing off the kids.
Yes.
And not only is it well scripted that way, it's also well acted that way. But Cary Grant does all of the nuance to really drive the role. And for that reason, most of my time, my eyes were spent on him, watching him act through this and enjoying the storyline. So,
I'm surprised you don't have any quotes written down.
no, I didn't write it down. I didn't write stuff down.
Okay.
You know, the he has this sarcastic way of pointing out the obvious, like
Mm-hmm.
when Leslie Caron asks when he shows up at the other island at night and finds them, and she's like, "Oh, do you have a boat?" And he goes, "No, I walked," and just says that deadpan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's again Cary Grant doing the delivery. It's not necessarily the line. So,
Well, there was one I thought for sure you would have written down
okay.
when he was trying to teach her how to catch that fish.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that scene? And she missed it the first time, and he's standing behind her, and he said, "Here she comes again," referring to the fish. And Leslie Caron said, "How do you know it's a she?" And he said, "Her mouth is open." I thought you would like that line.
Yeah, I unfortunately, uh, maybe 20 years ago, that humor would have been good for me, but now it's sort of like, oh, it feels a little too misogynist. Women are always talking. It doesn't work in my household anymore. So yeah, I get it. It was the 60s. So yeah, I think it's a film that if you haven't seen it, see it. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It's family friendly. It's got a good storyline, and most of all, it's got Cary Grant delivering a full Cary Grant. I'm surprised. I don't know who was up that year for Academy Awards. Let's check that. So Academy Awards that year, because you when you see a movie, you wonder what was going on that same year, and particularly if you like an actor's performance like Cary Grant's, you got to wonder what's going on. Why wasn't he even nominated for this? Mm-hmm. So here are some of the pictures, and this would have been 1965 Academy Awards, the 37th annual. The best picture that year was My Fair Lady. We already alluded to that. In the running for Best Picture was Beckett. Dr. Strangelove was in the running for Best Picture. Just too weird, I think, for the Academy. Mary Poppins was that year, and also Zorba the Greek. Best directing was George Cukor from My Fair Lady, Beckett, Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick, Mary Poppins, and Zorba the Greek. Best actor Rex Harrison won for My Fair Lady. Best actress Julie Andrews for Mary Poppins. That's Anne Bancroft was up for The Pumpkin Eater. Sophia Loren, Marriage Italian Style. Debbie Reynolds for The Unsinkable Molly Brown, and Kim Stanley, Seance on a Wet Afternoon. Best actor that won in a supporting role, Peter Ustinov, Topkapi. Have you seen Topkapi?
No, but you've talked about that one.
Yeah, I've talked about it because it's like I get to take another tour of Istanbul in that movie, so I watch it for the scenes. Best actress in a supporting role, Lila Kadrova in Zorba the Greek. Best writing is Father Goose. And that's pretty much all worth mentioning in terms of what were the 37th Academy Awards and how Father Goose kind of got stalled out except for Best Original Screenplay for it. So you have a favorite scene you mentioned.
Yeah, I had quite a few favorite scenes, but I chose one. It was sort of in the beginning of the movie, after the girls and uh, Miss Freneau had come to the island with Cary Grant. They realized that they needed more supplies than what he had, and so they were going to call the commander, who, by the way, we didn't talk a lot about him, but I loved him too. I thought he was quite funny. They were calling him to give him a list of what they needed, and Catherine was trying to give him the list, and Cary Grant got kind of mad at her. He said, "No, no, no, lady. You've taken over everything else. The radio is still my responsibility." And he grabs the radio from her, and he starts to read the list that she prepared. And the first thing on the list was 890s. And then he's like, "Oh no." And he kind of slammed it down and gave it back to her. And he said, "What?" And he said, "Okay, you go ahead and read it." And she begins reading the list to the commander, and she says, 890s. He said, "90s?" And she said, "Yes, in various sizes. And could you make one a bunny suit?" I just
Yeah.
thought that scene was really sweet.
The actor you're thinking of is Trevor Howard.
Yes, I
And
enjoy him.
he had some interesting things. He said Cary Grant was always present on the set, even
Mm-hmm.
scenes when he didn't require him. And if a
Yes.
line didn't land, he immediately called up his writers to polish it up.
Mm-hmm.
Howard credited this environment with producing some of the best comedy work. So it was Grant kind of demanded a collaborative set. And we've heard about this, I think, in other films too. So yeah, I wouldn't say I didn't have favorite scenes. I was trying to remember them after so many years, and I was waiting for the payoff of him coming out of the water after the boat exploded and surprising them. And I do remember when the Japanese come on shore with life rafts. I remember he's going to puncture those life rafts, and then later on in the scene he goes ahead and punctures it. So I have that kind of memory of that. That kind of meant he was really quite strategic in being survivalist in situations like this. So yeah.
Despite all his drinking, he never was drunk. Despite all the drinking that he did, he still was in control of things.
Yeah. So next week, what film?
It's a mad, 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 mad world.
Yeah, we're rolling it back one whole year to 1963 to see a 3-hour and 30-minute epic. And it was my turn to
get
pick.
Started.
It was my turn to pick, and someone had talked about this on Reddit, and I said, yeah, we talked about this movie. And I know we just saw a comedy, and I know this is, I didn't know if it was too far out of our range. And I said, no, let's go ahead and do it. So it's a mad, 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 mad world. Next time, maybe you'll pick one that's back in the 30s or the 40s. We can get unstuck from the 60s. This is I don't know. You should have seen, if you haven't seen this film, you should have seen this film. If you like old movies and old character actors, you should have seen this film. It is a Stanley Kramer film, so has really good directing chops. With this, it was a mess to put together in the sense of getting all the actors, all the people who were going to be there and weren't going to be there. Ernie Kovacs was going to be there. His wife at the time was there in the role, and Ernie Kovacs, I guess, had died just before the filming, and so they replaced him with Sid Caesar in the role. So it's Jimmy Durante literally kicks the bucket in the film, and it's got Milton Berle, it's got Ethel Merman, it's got Spencer Tracy obviously in the lead, Mickey Rooney, Phil Silvers, Buddy Hackett. I loved Buddy Hackett. Just as a comedian. His stories were so good. Dick Shawn, Jonathan Winters, which I know is a favorite of yours.
Yep.
Phil
him.
Silvers, Jim Backus. Just some great character actors, and it's all under the big W.
Yeah.
It's a mad, 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 mad world from 1963. That's what we will be covering for the next episode of Fade to Chat. And Brian, if you're listening, here's another one for you if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, he'll enjoy that.
Even if you've seen it, you'd enjoy this one too. So that's pretty much a wrap for us. Thank you, Cindy, for doing this. We've both been traveling, so we came back this morning and cut the show a day later than what we usually do. But and a little, I think for me, a little spider webs in my head from the traveling and the recovering. But It's
too.
always a pleasure to do this. We've got MacStock coming up in about 4 weeks, and
Yes.
it'll be great. We'll be face to face and have some fun with friends there.
Yeah.
You can watch Fade to Chat, Golden Age Cinema. You can subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/@Fade to Chat. That is our channel. And subscribing's always good. It kind of gives us feedback and lets us know people are out there. And there's no products or no money that we're getting from this effort. It's just kind of a labor of love for films that we enjoy. And we hope you enjoy too. And maybe some that you'll watch after listening to us. You can contact us via email at thepodtalknetwork@gmail.com. And of course, always check thepodtalk.net. That's the website that has all of this show and the links for all of this show, and also other shows that I'm involved in, shows that I'm on, and shows that I produce. So take a look at thepodtalk.net. Thanks for joining us, and keep the projectors rolling.